So what I'd like to do in today's 15-minute fundamentals session, which somebody just recently pointed out to me, I very rarely stick to 15 minutes, so maybe I should call these 20-minute tutorials. But anyway, whether it's 15 or 20 minutes, hopefully you'll find the content valuable. And the content today is going to be focused on using the project accounting and project management functionality in SAP Business One. So I'm using SAP Business One version 9.3, and you can see I'm actually using the version for SAP HANA. So there's a couple of things you need to be aware of that you need to have done in order for you to use the project management functionality in SAP Business One. First thing that you need to do is you need to go into administration, you need to go into system initialization, you'll need to go here into your company details, and then you go here into basic initialization, and you need to switch on this option here, enable project management. So if you aren't seeing the project management option here in the menu the same way you can see it here, then you need to come in here and make sure you've switched this on. Now once you switch on that project management functionality, you cannot switch it off. Of course, you can hide this menu option using the standard menu display capabilities, but once it's enabled, it can't be disabled. Alright, so just bear that in mind. So once you've switched that on, you've now got access to all of the project management functionality in SAP Business One. For those of you who've been using Business One for a while, you'll probably be aware that already inside your financials there is the capability to record transactions against what's known as a financial project. So when you come in here into administration and you come in here into setup and you look here in financials, you'll see that you have the ability to create projects. So you come in here, you go into projects, and you can create these project codes. So now I'm just working with some standard sample data here, but you can see you can create a project code, you can give it the project a name, you can specify whether it's valid for a certain range of dates by putting those start and finish dates here. And then of course you can flag that project as being active. So if it's not flagged as active, then you cannot enter transactions against it. And if you have put a start and finish date and you are trying to enter transactions outside this range of dates, then obviously that project is not going to show up. So once you've got that done, that project option will then show up on all of your transaction screens. So let's just go and take a quick look at an example. Whether it's things like entering purchase orders, whether it's things like entering sales invoices or whatever, that project code is there. So if I go here into sales AR and I take a look at my sales order, when I go into my accounting option, you can see I have the ability to go in here and specify the business partner project. Alright, and so there you can see there's those project codes that I can select. So I can simply select that project and that will put all of this invoice against that project. But of course, don't forget, you can go here into the line item level. And if I go in here into my form settings, which you can get to by going tools and form settings, you can come in and you can type the word project and it will find it for you, and there you can see you can flag that project as being visible at the grid level entry. You'll see that once you open up your item number, let's just say we're going to invoice them for JB Office Print 1420. What I can do is I can right click on this line and I can go into my row details, and you'll see here is my project, and I have the capability to be able to select the project that I want to allocate this particular line to. Alright, so you've got all of that functionality there, and you can then have different lines in the sales order document, as an example, allocated to different projects. So I'm just going to cancel out of there. So that's the financial project capability. And then of course what that does, and you might remember this from when we were looking at our financial reporting, if I go into my financial reports as an example, and so you'll see when I go in here into my financial reports, and if I want to look at my profit and loss statement, for example, you'll see that one of the options that you get is the option to choose expanded here, and then you can say I want to look at it by project, and then you can specify to do your P&L by project. So that's the financial projects that financial project functionality that's in SAP Business One. So that's been there for quite some time, but in the 9.2 release, this project management functionality was created. So what this allows you to do is it allows you to start recording much more detailed information about projects. So let's take a look at this process. You've actually got a couple of things that you could do here with your projects. You can specify that a project is external or internal. I really like this because when it's an external project, you can link it, of course, to a business partner. But when it's an internal project, you don't need to do that. So for example, if you look in your sample data and your sample data is up to date, then what you'll see when you start scanning through through that sample data or data, depending on how you want to say it, you will see that there are a couple of examples of different projects. All right, you'll see one of the projects that I have is an internal project. So here's my internal project, and it gives me the ability to do things like, tracking a relocation to a new office space. All right, so you've got that capability there. But let's take a look at an existing project that we've created, which is an external project. So in the project functionality, you can allocate a project to a business partner. And then, of course, you've got all the standard information that you can record that you would probably be familiar with if you've been doing sales orders, for example. Who is the contact person? What's the territory? Who's the sales employee, for example? And also you can specify if there is an owner of the project. So if I go in here into owner, you'll see it gives me a list of my employees. So, I can say that James Chan, for example, is the owner of this particular project. We then get a project number which the system allocates from one of the document numbering ranges. You can specify whether or not the project is started, paused, stopped, or finished. And then you're also able to specify a percentage complete. Now you're going to see how the percentage complete gets automatically calculated for you from the stages that you set up in the system and when you record information against those stages. Okay. So we're looking at this, and you can see we've also tied this across to one of our financial projects. So again, once I've got that there, what I'm able to do is, in this case, I've said this is a project with sub-projects, so I can see the sub-projects, and when I drill down, you'll actually see that this sub-project has its own set of stages as well. Alright, so you can get quite detailed in terms of the number of levels that you've got here and the amount of detail that you can record. But I'm going to close that down just for the time being. When you create a project, you can define these different stages that are in the project. Alright, now because this is a project that has sub-projects, we don't actually have any stages here. Let's dive back and let's grab one that doesn't have sub-projects so we can take a look at the top level of the project. Alright, so for example, here's a project for MaxiTech. We can go in here and we can put in an overview of the project. So what is it we're doing? We're doing a new server installation and configuration for MaxiTech. You can set a risk level. You can also flag, what industry this ties to. And of course, this is user defined. So you can go in, you can define the new options that you want to have there in your pick list. But then you come in here into your stages. And again, the beauty of this is that these stages are user defined. So in our current demo data system, we've determined that these are our stages that we have. Okay, we have conception and initiation, definition and planning, launch and execution, performance and control, and the finishing stage. Now, under each one of those stages, you can set up multiple tasks. Each one of those tasks, you can come in here and you can put a planned cost, and then the system will track the invoiced amount for you as you go through and record the invoices against that project. Same thing from a cost perspective. All right, we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail in a second. So then if I come in here into my summary, this then gives me a summary of all the information that has been entered in from a financial perspective, as well as some of the key dates that we've specified. What's our due date, our actual closing date, and so on, and whether or not we're overdue, how many days overdue we are. We can also record our remarks, and one of the other nice things about this is you can record attachments against the project. All right, so if you might have a project contract or variations, you can record those attachments here. But then when you get into the stages, what you'll see is that you also have the capability to go in and put additional information against those stages. So you'll see as I scroll across here, I have the ability to record additional information. So I can specify for a stage what percentage of the total project that stage is. And what will happen when I flag a stage as being finished, it then increments the percentage complete on the basis of that stage being flagged as finished. Okay, so you've got that capability there. So the next thing you can do is you also got the ability to come in here now and start recording these additional documents. And this is where you really start to see how the project management works in SAP Business One, because it's not a financial project management. It's not a financial project accounting that doesn't have a huge amount of detail. It doesn't have work in progress, progress claims, and all those kinds of types of transactions that you might be used to working with a project system. If you want that kind of capability, you're going to have to go for a solution from one of the complementary solution providers like Maringo or Errorless or one of those applications. You can come in here and you can specify your open issues. You can look at your attachments. You can look at your documents. So these are all the transactions that have been allocated to this particular project. You can look at your work orders, and you can look at your activities. So these are at the top level. But now if I wanted to see these for a specific stage, I can do that as well. All I need to do is select the stage, and now when I'm choosing these options here, like the open issues, the attachments, the documents, you can see I've got the ability to connect these to the specific stages. So let's talk about how the documents work, because it's mainly the documents that update all the financial information. So you'll see right now I have a planned cost of $12,000 for my installation task, which is part of my performance and control stage. So when I want to start recording costs against that, I simply come in here and select a cost related document, like an AP document, for example. So if I pick an AP invoice, I come in here and I select the document. So I'll say this document here for Lasercom for $3,680. I select that document, and you'll now see that that amount is allocated here against this particular stage and task. So that's all good. What I can do as well is I can flag as to whether or not this is chargeable. But then when I've got that transaction in there, I simply choose update. And then what will now happen is you will see that against that task or against that stage, when I'm looking at that here, I'll select it again. When I come across and look at the details, you'll see that I've actually got an AP invoiced amount of $3,400, and there it is. That's what made it up. So again, what the project management capability is all about, it's really about creating a central location where you can track all of the transactions that occur inside SAP Business One and tie them back to the project. You can track things like, as I said, your open issues. You can also create your activities against a project. So for example, let's say we've got a project meeting which is occurring. So we've got a project meeting, and that project meeting is relating to, for example, our project planning. So I can simply select the project planning. I can come in here into activities, and I can go and choose to create a new activity. It pops up my new activity screen, and I can then record the details of this activity. So I can say, you know what, this activity was relating to, it was a meeting, and the meeting type was general. And again, don't forget, you've got the ability to tailor all of these options that appear in these drop down lists, so you can really get quite specific. So I can say my meeting type is a project progress. So it's project progress meeting, and I'll say update. And okay, so now this is a project progress meeting. I can record the details. I can specify how long the meeting went for. And then of course, as you know, with the standard activities in SAP Business One, you can then record additional details here behind that. So if I click on the other details, you can see that I can link it back to a resource. I can link it to a type of activity. The project number and the sub-project number are not shown here at the moment because I haven't added it, but as soon as I do, they will be updated. I've got my content. I can link it to another document inside the system, and of course I can attach additional files. So maybe I've got my meeting minutes or whatever the case may be. I can attach those to this activity, and then when I say add, you'll see that activity has now been added in here. I come in here, that's now linked. When I come in here and I hit update, what it's doing here now is it's saying, hey, this activity must fall within the specified date range for this stage. So again, you've got that level of control that the system is putting in place for you. So again, I'll go into this activity and I'll change the date just for the sake of the exercise. And so now I can update that. I can say okay, and when I hit the update button here, it will now allow that activity to be flagged against the project. And when I drill down now and look at that activity, you'll see under my other details, it's actually now linked to that project. So when I'm looking at that activity, I can always drill back down to the project and take a look at that information. So there you have it. So that's all the different kinds of transactions and the different kinds of documents that you can link across to your project. And of course, as you're putting those details in, your summary here is always being updated. So I'm going to say okay to that and close the project down. Let's take a quick look at our project management reports. So you can see we have our project reports, so I can do my stage analysis. So I'm able to pick a project stage. I'm able to pick an employee or a business partner code. I can specify starting and closing dates, and then I can run my report, which will then give me all of that analysis on those project stages. And now I've got that stage analysis. I can go and push that out to Excel, or I can work with it, do whatever I need to do. I can also go and print reports like an open issues list. So again, parameters I can specify there relating to the project, who the responsible person is, what the priority level is of the open issue, and so on and so forth. I can look at my resources and how the resources are being utilized on my projects, and I'm able to do a timesheet report as well. What I can also do is I can do my billing document generation report. So what this will do is it will run a wizard that collects all the open document lines and billable items that are connected to this specific project. And then what it will do is it will create an accounts receivable delivery document or an accounts receivable invoice based on the project data that's stored in the project management form. So you can do that billing, but again, the thing to bear in mind is it is a very simple form of billing. Okay, What you bill is what is recognized as revenue, so you can't put in different calculations that are going to kick in when you're doing your revenue recognition and things like that. But for many projects and for many organizations, this is all you really need when you're running your project. So simple projects require simple project management, and that's what's delivered with SAP Business One Project Management.